Hello, peculiars. It's so nice to have you back again. And we have one of those very special shows, authors hosting authors. I know I'm actually an author too, but tonight we are doing Lisa, but Lisa is being hosted by Patty. And you will remember Patty because she was with us last year to talk about Poison 2. So this is going to be a great night of lady poisoners happening kind of everywhere. Are you excited, Davey? Because I'm excited.
I am excited, and I did some reading. I got
You
some
did some
reading done.
reading.
Usually if it's not an audiobook, I'm like, but you know what? I finally got the benefit of getting one of the books because the illustrations are amazing.
So amazing. It is gorgeous. This book is literally just, I want to like cut out and frame. I don't, but I want to cut out and frame everything. I also have a little bit of show and tell later, which don't let me forget. I've got a little black box to show you guys. But and I see it. There's tons and tons of people here. People are really excited that you're back. Yeah, I'm not good at the
I missed
show.
you. I've missed everyone too.
The illustrations, they really are. They're definitely out of this world. So without further ado, tonight, even though we're here, we are introducing Patty McCracken, who is going to be our author host. Hello, Patty.
Hey,
how are you?
I'm just doing fine, coming to you live from the Martha's Vineyard Regional High School, which is kind of random, but here's where I am.
It's lovely photographs back there. We've got a couple of people. Kathleen says anything is a poison if you have enough of it. So true.
That is very true.
That is very true.
Right.
Well, I didn't even think about this story, but you could tell the mouse that found its way into my parents' basement and ate all the like leftover Halloween candy in the basement, and yeah, it
perished.
Yeah,
its own type of rat poison.
Mindy says the illustrations would be awesome as 2D cutout animations. That's true. A little stop motion kind of going there. Could see
the
it
illustrations.
happening.
The illustrations are absolutely spectacular.
And, Lisa has her own shop too. So if you're thinking to yourself, gosh, if only I could have more of these illustrations, you can. And so I think we should probably go ahead and invite Lisa on too. Oh.
Hello, howdy.
Loving it. Loving your earrings there.
Oh, thanks. Oh, shucks. Oh, geez. And thank you for mentioning my shop. And I'm honored I got Davey to read. There's been so much to be excited about.
Right. Well, I'm here. I'm here, and I'm going to be around. And mostly, though, I'm going to duck into the background so I can watch the questions in the sideline. And I'll be back to give a few of the announcements. If you are watching us live, don't forget that there's a bit of a delay when you type in your questions to when we can see them. So please go ahead and start putting the questions in now about the book, about poisons, about illustration, about the shop, about everything. And I will be earmarking those to put up for Patty. But in the meantime, I'm going to shuffle off not the mortal coil. I'm going to shuffle off the Zoom stream coil here and let Patty ask you some opening questions.
I'm here for it. I've been really excited about this. And I think the first thing for me is that there's somebody else to talk to about poison. So this is really cool. I'm just excited that this is here. This is amazing. It's brilliant. And for myself, I come from an art background as well. And my brother was an illustrator in his day. He won several gold things for the Society of Illustrators.
Society of Illustrators? That's a big deal.
Yeah, and he was one of the judges back in the day too for a long time. So illustrations are key. And I know that you're an illustrator and an author, but this is like the book of books.
Oh,
I mean, look at the beauty. It's just beautifully crafted. So it's like you just feel happy to hold it. So I kind of want to talk about both the art aspect and the story aspect because, they're inseparable. You can't, in this book, it's all one beautiful.
Can you show them the side of it too? Because it's got look at that, the green. Oh, sorry.
It's stunning. It's absolutely a stunning piece of art in itself. It's just gorgeous. Oh so, gosh. I mean, it's like it's the whole thing. And then you get into the story itself and the writing. I had to write some of the stuff down because it's so well phrased. Oh, you've got some things where you've said like Gothic nesting dolls, which is just
Oh, thank you.
lovely. And then you've got certain other things that I wrote down that I'll find. Oh, one of my favorites, the family that slays together, stays together.
Mhm.
Who knew?
Who
So you must have you came across a lot of families that slay together and stay together. In this book, I think the most prominent was the Borgia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start with that one because with the Borgias, I was kind of curious about that because, you know, in the research for my book, that didn't really come up. It came up in some of the news articles where they were compared, the angel makers were compared to it. But so after reading yours, I kind of felt like, oh, that's a whole different take than what the legend that's come down. Why do you think that happened?
That's
Yeah.
a really wonderful question.
Yeah.
It's a really wonderful question to start with. And I just want to preface it by saying thank you so much for all of your kind and effusive words about the book and its design.
I mean, it's exquisite. It's really gorgeous.
Like my heart just melts hearing that. I still get a kick out of seeing other people holding it. This idea that it's out of my head and out of my hands and it's into the world. And I loved when you said I have someone to talk to about this because I worked on this book for 3 years and I had it's an almost bizarrely isolating experience to be like, you don't know all of these poison stories. I have no one I can bounce this around with who is kind of aware of the complexity and sort of.
You needed to get to know us like earlier because you'd have been all right. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I wish I could like give you guys a quick look. There's already so many questions over here.
I know, I can tell I'm in the right place. My people are here. I'm excited to chat with my people. But yes, I definitely, and especially came across your work while I was researching the angel makers. And I think we'll come back to it, I'm sure. But I think that's one of the most fascinating cases maybe in all of like murder history. I don't know. I think that it's so rich and complex and nuanced. And I am primarily an illustrator. I'm a full-time professor of illustration at MICA, the Maryland Institute College of Art, and I mostly do book covers. So it was really important to me when I was going to do the cover for my own book that I'd written that I really wanted to create something that was going to be ideally both something that people would read and enjoy the reading experience, but also cherish and celebrate as an art object, display in their homes, and kind of be something that they left out on the coffee table or just even like face out on their bookshelf because they just enjoyed it. And that very tactile experience of holding the book and enjoying the gilded green metallic edges and the embossing on the cover, just to create a whole special experience for the reader. And I love seeing you pick it up and hold it. I got one here too. I'm goofy. So
yeah. Like this. Some of this magnificent, it's just magnificent. I mean, it is really a treasure. So I think you succeeded in that.
Well, thank you.
I think
you
you
so
absolutely succeeded in that.
And I did want to get back to your question about the Borgias because I didn't answer it at all. Because I was just so excited about your preface. I think that was almost the biggest letdown. But you know what I mean? Because when I was researching and I was like, okay, I'm researching women poisoners. And I think I put it out to my folks on social media. Who should I be looking at? And I think 9 out of 10 people said, oh my God, Lucretia Borgia. You've got to talk about the Borgias. And I was all ready for a juicy chapter with lots of mayhem and murder. And it was this wild, okay, actually, there's been a lot of misconceptions about them and over dramatizations. And they've really been villainized when really was their behavior so different from other prominent families of the time. And a lot of the rumors are unsubstantiated, and that Lucretia's reputation may have really been the most sort of manifested, that there's really no proof that she committed any poisoning crimes. And yet her name has become synonymous with not just poison, but specifically women who poison. And you'll see throughout history, and that's why you mentioned it, even with the angel makers, any woman accused of poisoning from then on will be described as the Lucretia Borgia of Connecticut, the Lucretia Borgia of, of Poland.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just fascinating how she has become the symbol. And that's such an interesting part of all of this is where do these legends come from? Why do they take off? And then why do we still believe them? And I think that that's so much at the heart of this book.
It's funny that I'm so glad Patty started with that question, because some of the things that have popped up already in the chat, and then I promise we'll do, I promise that we'll get to the announcements. But Lorelai says, Laura Lee, sorry, I recently realized I've been massively mispronouncing her name. Laura Lee, who I met in person recently, says, I really loved how you pointed out, without excusing what they did, these women were living in really crappy circumstances, and also how men with the same knowledge were revered and women were feared, which seems obvious once stated, but hadn't thought about it.
Yeah, you did a lot of that throughout the book. I mean, there's some anomalies in there, like, who is it? Yia. Oh, she was a trip.
Oh yeah.
But
Yep.
but mostly it's that sort of same thing. I mean, the angel makers were in there, and the angel makers, a group of women in Hungary who, led by the local midwife and others, were killing the men because, why are you bothering with him? He's abusing you. He's a severe alcoholic. It turns out that story, which is sort of a big story in itself, is sort of been on through the ages, like Tofana.
Julia Tofana. Yeah.
Yeah. Julia, tell us about Julia Tofana.
Absolutely. And I love how you said that. And because that was kind of the profound revelation of working on this book for me, is that there's a thread connecting so many of these stories from antiquity to now. And so much of it has to do with lack of agency and abuse, and poison as a last ditch resort, or a way to get out of dire circumstances. And I think where we have this different vision of the woman poisoner as crafty, cunning, and deceitful. And so many of the realities were really to escape, or as acts of defiance against abuse or against mistreatment. And there's this thread from Locusta the poisoner in ancient Rome, to Julia Tofana, to Baba Anujka, to the angel makers of Nagirev, of using poison because it's something they had access to in a way that women, and again, I always have to say this, I am not condoning.
I have to say that too. I always have to say it too for the angel makers.
I always have to say that. We are looking at this to think about the context in a little bit more detail, and to understand more of the motivations and why, and to see some of the nuance. We are never celebrating or condoning by any means. But Julia Tofana's story is very similar to the angel makers of Nagirev, and actually her story is the one that kicked this whole project off for me.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I love I always start with her.
I was going to ask that. Yeah,
a great place to begin our conversation too. Basically, a friend sent me an article. This was during the dark days of the pandemic, when I was like, I want to do a personal project. I have a little time. What do I want to do? And it was like something incredible. The headline was like, a woman confesses to killing 600 men with her poison in Renaissance Italy. And I went, what? That's definitely like a double take sort of headline. And I read about it, and that Julia Tofana lived in Renaissance era patriarchal Italy. There was very little recourse to get out of a bad marriage or an abusive relationship. Besides death, divorce was non-existent. It was not an option. And she trained as an apothecary and ended up opening her own shop where she sold a variety of tinctures and salves, but had sort of a network of women who would vouch for each other. And if they needed, they could come to her and ask for her special poison, which was called aqua tofana. And the recipe has been lost to us, but we believe it's some combination of maybe like arsenic and lead and belladonna. And it was disguised in these vials that looked like cosmetics or St. Nicholas healing oil. And basically this poison becomes legend, aqua tofana, and you'll even hear about it centuries later, people being afraid of it. And eventually she became this sort of folk hero among women, because this was the only way these women were able to leave these abusive relationships. And then eventually the story is that a woman who was using the poison to poison her husband's soup got cold feet and snatched the soup back. And then he demanded to know what was going on, takes his wife to the papal authorities, and then they go try to track Tofana down. For a while, the people of the town protect her, but then at a certain point, they can't any longer. And under torture, she confesses that her poison was used. And again, a confession under torture, we can't be sure, but she,
who knows?
Under these circumstances, confessed that her poison was used to kill 600 men. And it's just this fascinating little glimpse.
I think Brandy threw me in here because it's time for
You said-
announcements.
It
Okay.
is, but also she said 600 men, and I just thought it would
Oh.
be funny if you popped up at that very moment.
Believe me, I lived in fear the entire time I was reading this book.
Quaking.
Well,
in
just
your
wait.
boots.
We're going to be doing Mary Roach's book soon,
Oh,
and she has a whole bunch of ways that you can. There's
Yeah.
surprising ways that you can kill people.
Recipes.
I'm going to totally steal from all y'all next time I write a murder mystery.
and maybe we can bring back the Aqua Tofana in your little apothecary that you've got going on there, Brandy.
You know,
Maybe we can.
a belladonna. That's something
An
I don't. Well,
emergency.
yeah, you never know. All right, so we'll do some announcements real quick, and then I'm excited to say. Oh, by the way, Jennifer Pierce has just got here, and she said this book is so pretty. We have been talking about that nonstop. I
So
promise,
pretty.
it is so pretty. And when we come back from announcements, there's so many more questions, which I'll pop up on the screen for Patty and for Lisa. Okay, announcements. I'll try to make it quick because there's so much we want to talk about. First of all, you can find us on social. We're kind of on all of them at this point. Probably Facebook is where we hang out the most. And so if you want to join our private group, that's the kind of protected sphere where we can all hang out, and it's super cool.
I need to swap out that Twitter logo for the blue sky.
I
logo.
know, I know.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Pretend that that's a butterfly. Oh, by the way, I know I keep saying I've finalized our website, but I just keep making it tweaks to make it a little bit better. It's much easier to find a lot of the pieces and parts that we have now. You can go up there, you can find our bookshop.org where we sell the books that we have on the show. Well, not us, but indie places do. Our Goodreads, our bookclubs.org. You can support us, but not on Patreon. We're actually moving away from Patreon, which is kind of a big announcement I did earlier this week. Patreon has been steadily taking more and more of the funds that we have at this club. So it's about 20%. But then Apple decided that they wanted their piece of the pie and tacked on 25% on top of that. So 45% of profits just seemed a bit too high. We have now moved over to PayHip, and there is a website. I sent it in the last newsletter. When we get around to starting to do our new membership drive, I'll talk more about it. But we've got some more surprises, some very cool things coming up next year for members that you are going to love. Oh my gosh. Davey and I need to talk about them first because I just decided we were going to do them, but haven't actually mentioned all of it to Davey.
We're going to get a lunch on the books. We'll get this.
We're going to get it. But sign up for our newsletter if you didn't get those newsletters, because that's where a lot of our information comes from. We have that's up on our website, peculiarbookclub.com. That's also, if you don't remember that strange link down there. And it's a great way to stay in touch. Also, I try to be quite funny and humorous and tell you silly stories. So I did tell people about a famous poisoner from the town in which I grew up in our last newsletter, just for everybody's, our very own Lucretia Borgia, I guess, since we call everybody that now. Again,
ignore this.
Yeah, ignore that.
Next line.
Pay it. Okay, book cocktail. Oh, there were so many great names, and there was a runner-up, which was help me out,
Madame Belladonna, which
Belladonna.
It did change. There was more voting between when we talked in the show and live, but it's still Hemlock's Little Helpers hanging on.
Hemlock's Little Helper hanging on by a thread. So Lisa, this is for you. This is a book cocktail developed for you by Kat. Kat does amazing things with cocktails. I had this one. I just made it too early and drank it already, but it was fantastic. So it's tequila. I didn't have jalapeno, so I used habanero tequila, which was also great, with Midori, fresh lime juice, agave syrup or nectar, and then some jalapenos and cilantro. And it was just like this wonderful mixture of things. And look at this beautiful photograph that Kat took. I love it.
All right. Now, we did promise you last episode that we will continue to do the Peculiar Movie Club. I know we've kind of taken a break for the summer, but I watched the movie Milk, so I'm going to talk about it. You're
going to talk about that? Okay.
Here's the problem. Me and Darren, he does not have kids and I have kids, and he runs his own business, so that's like his kid. And so you couldn't pick two people to do a podcast that have completely opposite schedules. So me and Darren will find time to record, because it just won't be as much fun without him. And,
yeah.
So
maybe you could do like a combo.
We might have to do
Milk Wag Vigilante.
Yeah. So for the League of Lady Poisoners, the movie we're going to do is called A Vigilante. It stars I'm totally blanking on her name right now. From she was one of the doctors on House. Olivia Wilde.
Uh-huh.
I believe it's Olivia Wilde. Yeah. But it's not poisoning, but I think the spirit of what she's going through and what she does in the movie fits. It was kind of hard to find a poisoning movie. I mean, we could have done like the Batman. What was the third Batman movie with Poison Ivy? Like we could have done that, but I felt like this really hits the themes of your book more.
Yeah, no, I like that
with her kind of vengeance mission. So it was a smaller indie film, but hopefully everyone can find it.
Okay. Well, before we completely leave the announcements, I want to remind everybody that September 11th is going to be Mary Roach. We had originally hoped to have Sam Keane. He's actually going to be traveling and not going to be able to be with us. But I am reviewing Mary's book right now for the Wall Street Journal. It's called Replaceable You. You're going to like this one a lot. This is right up our stinky little alley. And so she's going to be coming on September 11th. So if you didn't know that, surprise, she's very excited to be here, and we'll be having her on. But the last thing I wanted to show you was a little show and tell, a black box. Okay, guys, I went antiquing, as I so often do. It's why my house is so full of weird stuff. And I found the world's smallest martini maker.
That's tiny.
I know. And it comes with these tiny little glasses.
Sweetness.
Kat's gonna love this one, right? But also, I was thinking like this could be quite a handy little accidental poisoning kit.
Could be. Yeah.
So I thought I would share
That's amazing. I love miniature things and things that are ready to travel. So you could just make
great?
a little martini kit on the go.
Yeah, yeah, I knew Kat would be excited. Isn't that cool? And it came with its own little tiny fork doodads. I'm sure that probably has a name.
And just set it up and start making.
Yeah. Well, I have more than. I definitely have more than one travel bar, but as a person with a new knee and 2 lenses, I'm all in. Oh yeah, Mary's book. You're gonna love this, Sharon. It's very cool. It very is. Shaken, not stirred, says Leanne.
I want to give a shout out to Susan, who said she's already ahead on watching the movies. I love that. People keeping up with us and watching the movies. So thanks, cool. Susan. We'll get there.
All right. So we do have a list of questions for you. So I'm going to disappear again, but I'm going to pop these up on the screen for you as well, Patty, because people have been like very excited over here.
Okay.
Oh, my heart.
I know. So we have a question from Leanne Weiberg. Question: what inspired you to tackle both art and writing at once? Yeah, that's a big undertaking.
Like a blip of sanity. I'm not sure.
Sanity, insanity, COVID. Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm a professional illustrator, just a humble picture maker by trade, but it's kind of been my lifelong dream to write and illustrate a book. I'm a book person. I worked in libraries growing up. It was like a job I've always had, and I would always kind of look at the back of the book about the author, about the artist. And it's just been a long time dream of mine, but everyone always said, oh, a children's book. I went, yeah, because that seemed to be like the only my dedication was to my parents, who really hoped that my first book would be a nice children's picture book. Yeah, that's my true dedication, and it is true. They laughed when they saw that. But I didn't know what the right vehicle was, and I'd been doing books for a long time as an illustrator, and I realized no one was going to come to me with the perfect project for me. I realized I had to kind of create my dream job for myself. And I got so into this topic, and it just started as an illustration series. I researched Julia Tofana and her story with poison, and I thought, this is so fascinating. Are there other stories like this? And I started collecting stories about women in poison and drawing portraits. And at a certain point, I realized, I think I have a book pitch. And I wanted to pitch it as, actually, when I pitched myself as the illustrator, and the publisher was gonna pair me with an author.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And I said, okay, great. But back in my heyday, I had been an English major a long time ago, and I've always wanted to do it. And a colleague of mine said, you can certainly work with an author, and that would be lovely too, but you'll really it'll be your baby if you write it and you illustrate it. You can really design it and control it and craft it in a way you'd never get to unless you're doing both parts of it. So I do want to preface it by saying it was immensely challenging in terms of time management to do both, but in some ways it was so much of a richer experience for me to get to research her, write about her, and then draw her, and kind of bring all of these parts of it together kind of synergetically. And I knew that the voice and the tone were going to match, because
that's it. It matches, and the writing is so good and it's so clever. So it's the whole thing. I think it would not have been it would have been flatter. I don't see any author that could be paired that would have done the same thing that you did.
Well, thank you.
So it's quite the nice thing. You have these little gems in here because it's written, there's just a little bit of a wink in there, Yeah. And
I'm
it's
not good at
really,
winking, so I'm always like overdoing it, but yeah.
it blink. It's a little bit of a blink. Yeah, it's nice. Okay, so from Kathleen Richardson, what is the oddest, funniest thing you have heard someone tried to poison another person with?
That's such a
Was it successful? Yeah, that's a whole different story. Was it successful?
Well, that's a really funny question. I wish I had a better answer canned for that. I will say that as we learned from, there's a famous Paracelsus quote. He was a 16th century physician and alchemist, and he said, the dose makes the poison, right? So kind of referred to this a little bit earlier, but the idea that the same substance, it just depends on the quantity. It can be healing, or it can be harmful, or it can be benign, or it can be harmful.
Yeah.
So I learned that anything can be poison if you overdo it. Like,
right.
If you eat enough bananas, you'd have to eat an obscene amount, like thousands of bananas in one sitting, but it's possible to get potassium poisoning. Difficult to do, but possible.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but the first thing that jumped into my mind was a more recent case, I think, where I heard about, like, this isn't in the book, but someone using like Visine eye drops as poison. And again, please, I always say in the book,
it's not recommended.
Yeah. But that's the idea that anything put where it's not supposed to be. Oh, the Tide Pod Challenge. I mentioned this in the intro to my book. The idea that, there was a phase a few years ago of teenagers, like, because they look like candy, these laundry pods, which are like chemical bombs that are designed for the laundry machine and not for contact with the human mouth or the human body.
Right.
But they're ubiquitous. They're in all of our homes. And I think we forget how many substances we deal with in a daily context that are not as safe or benign as we think. And actually, a lot of the plants, I think, are some of the biggest surprises. Like, I was just in a public park, and now I know what poison hemlock looks like because I drew it. And I was like, this park is filled with hemlock. I hope somebody knows.
Who knew?
I know somebody. And again, there's just people around it, and we don't think about it. I think the biggest thing is realizing that poison is and can be everywhere. Not to scare you, but just to make you more aware.
But also the hemlock and belladonna and all those things, they're medicinal. So it is the dose. So you have to get the right dose, or it's absolute poison. So can heal or can kill. So Mindy Weisberger, there was a case report from a few years ago of a woman who injected herself with a crushed up black widow to get high.
Oh, she answered the question. That's better than mine. That's great. That's
great.
Ew.
Yeah. How did that work out for her?
Probably not great.
Speaking of black widows, Sharon, have you kept up with the current mushroom poisoners? Oh, I don't know about that.
I don't think I know about this one, which is strange because now I'm the poison lady, and now when
people want to know,
like 40 different people email me about it. I won't know about this one.
I know. I want to know. I want more.
I don't know about that one
Sharon,
either. Maybe
Sharon, tell us more.
Yeah, Sharon, you're gonna have to tell us more about that one.
Come on, Sharon, we're rooting for you.
No pressure.
We'll come back. We'll circle.
No pressure. I actually also want to talk about some of the artistic process, because when I look at the images, I can be easily fooled. But was this just I don't want to say just, but tell me about your process, because whatever your process was, it sort of harkens back. It reminds me of some kind of woodcut or what. So is there any sort of process that you went through with that, or was that, because I know my brother as a designer, he used paint, and then he just sort of redid the whole thing on the computer, and it looked exactly the same. So I don't know if that was the same thing for you or what.
Please tell me later what your brother's name is so I can like research, because I'm like a big illustration groupie, so I'm always like looking for other people's work. But thank you. Yeah, the process, I'm really happy to talk about. So I was, back in the day, I was a double major in English and fine art painting. And then but I always wanted to be an illustrator, and I later went back to school to MICA, where I teach now, and got a master's degree specifically in illustration. And that's when I learned about digital art and digital illustration. So I like to think that because I was trained in the traditional, more painterly style, that some of those sort of handmade techniques kind of come through, even though I'm still using more digital tools. But typically what I'll do, because so much of my work is research-based, is I'll start by gathering a whole bunch of visual reference. I'll just get a folder. And this is my favorite part of the job, is like, what would a woman in this time period have worn? What would her hairstyle have been like? And collecting research and examples, and then creating a number of sketches. I still sketch traditionally with paper and pencil. And then when I get a sketch I like, I'll scan it in and bring it into the digital space, where I like to work with something. It's called Wacom Cintiq. It's like a tablet screen I can draw right on, which I like, because a lot of digital tools are drawing down here and looking up here, and there's a bit of a disconnect for me. I like to kind of draw right on there. And I use Adobe Photoshop, and I work in layers, which is why your comment cut was very striking to me, because that's a very layer-based making technique.
Yes.
So it's similar in that way. But I really love working digitally, because so often when I work with clients, they ask for changes. And when you do a painting, it's so much harder to make a change. And it's just great being able to save it at different versions and go back and adjust things. I love being able to kind of move and sort of perfect things. So I work in layers in Adobe Photoshop, and it's a slow process. My illustrations are very detailed. They take a long time. But my favorite thing is hiding little clues. Like especially in a book like this, I know that my reader knows some of the references, so I love hiding some of the things from the story in the illustrations, kind of like Easter eggs for them to find.
That is what. So when I had the cover done for my most recent mystery, and the one before that too, actually, they hid Easter eggs on the cover. So there's actually clues on the cover if you know what you're looking for. Yeah. So that's
really cool. Yeah, I love the cover of, so there's two different covers for my book from the US and the UK. And I wish I had a copy of the UK one, because it's along your lines. They did a wonderful job in the UK of making a poison bottle and just really just layering and texturing the whole story inside the artwork. It was really nice. I wish it would have been the cover for all of it, but you can't do that. But yeah, when the artwork is really there, when they're really getting it, it's fantastic. Okay, so Sharon is she telling us? A woman was convicted last month of murdering her former in-laws by, I remember this one. A woman was convicted last month of murdering her former in-laws by serving them beef Wellington with poisonous death cap mushrooms. Her husband survived. Whoops. Yeah, she pretended like, I didn't know.
Sure. Wow.
Yeah.
It's dark. Yeah. It's a dark story. And unlucky for her that he survived, and I imagine testify against her. That's a thing. If you're going to poison someone, it's like if you're going to shoot, don't miss.
That's exactly right. That's how. Ask Julia Tofana how to do it. 600 men later.
Oh, yeah. Great.
Are there some stories that didn't make the cut that you can think of offhand?
Yes, and I think that was one of the staggering things. Was I had an Excel sheet, I think, of more than 100 women poisoners that I found throughout history. And because my look was global, so it was just like it was really overwhelming. And at a certain point, the editor was like, we need to narrow this down. And that's when I devised the idea of kind of coming up with these sort of thematic chapters, dividing my motives. And that was also a suggestion the editor had made to me as well. There were so many. And one of the reasons a few of them did not make the cut were that there was one I desperately wanted about a woman who had been a geisha in Japan who poisoned her lover. And I wanted this story so badly, but I could not find anything about her written in English. And I don't speak Japanese, and I don't have access to a translator. And and the other reason we would sometimes have to cut them out is there just wasn't enough, or there wasn't enough credible information. I am writing a nonfiction book. I'm presenting these statements as fact. I needed to make sure that I had verifiable, credible sources. So unfortunately, I would get these little tantalizing tidbits of a poisoning case in an interesting part of the world, and I just didn't have enough. And that was heartbreaking. And then there's some where there's so much about them, and then you're sifting through all of the poison weeds trying to narrow the story down into something people can manage.
It's funny that in one fell swoop we answered 3 different people's questions who were like, how did you narrow, so there's a lot of questions, because I imagine I'm reading myself on top of you here in a second, but you start down one of these rabbit holes, and then it's really kind of hard to stop.
Yeah, totally.
It's kind of difficult to know how to narrow it down. So that which was a question I was going to ask. So I appreciate that you. There's always a little bit of pain when you have to.
The hardest part. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, my poisonous little babies. How do you let it go?
Exactly. And you're also thinking visually, so you just like, I want to draw this, I want to
That's-
represent this.
yeah.
That was so
So it's
my
really
biggest
hard.
motivator was aesthetic. I was like, I wanted to
Mhm,
draw
mhm,
that geisha
mhm.
so
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
Mhm.
You know, and now did you at all, like, I mean, have you made any sort of like outtake type things that would be, say, for instance, in your shop
Yeah.
that
Yes, I was
peculiars
gonna
could buy?
say. Yeah. I mean,
Thank you for continuing to just like promote me, just like so subtly in there. Actually, one of the earliest ones I did was I fell down a deep rabbit hole, and I'm so sure this is a story that folks here are familiar with, is the story of the Radium Girls.
Mhm.
And it didn't end up making the cut once I figured out more what the book was about. And it was more about women who did the poisoning and not women who were poisoned.
We're poisoned, right?
I originally had proposed a victims chapter of women who had been the victims of poisoning, and the editor was like, I think this is a poisoner book. I think this is about
Well-
but I had already I had this illustration for the Radium Girls that I loved, and I really wanted to draw them, and I ended up, so what I did to like make the best out of it was I reused the border. So you'll notice a lot of my illustrations have borders. I just took the Radium Girls border and I ended up putting in Tilly Klimek, who was a painter in Chicago, I want to say in the 20s or 30s. And if you look closely, you'll be like, that border would have looked really good with the story about the Radium Girls. So that's how
yeah. I was thinking
So-
that.
Unbeknownst to you, you have just created like the best segue to our musical accompaniment. So Charming Disaster, who is our house band who does a lot of the music for us, actually did a song about the Radium Girl, had a whole album around Mary Curie, and did a song about the Radium Girls that actually has a stop motion animated, I didn't do it, stop motion animated video trailer, which is what gave me the idea to do a stop motion animated trailer for the Peculiar Book Club. And they happen to be the music for your show today. So I'm going to let Davey sort of take us back away and give us a little musical accompaniment.
Here we go.
Oh, hello, Peculiars.
It's us, Charming Disaster.
And we're very pleased to help soundtrack today's episode about lady poisoners. But isn't that kind of redundant? I mean, aren't most poisoners ladies?
Aren't most ladies poisoners?
Anyway, you may be familiar with this song because it is the theme song to this show.
Coincidence?
Perhaps. But perhaps you're not familiar with the whole song, so please enjoy Blue Bottle Blues. Pine fish, turpentine. Don't drink poison, baby, better drink wine. Solvent, acetone. Mind you, mark the bottle with the skull and bones. You got the blue bottle blues. When you wake up in the night, don't make a big mistake, 'cause you could never make it right. When you reach out for the vial, feel the ridges in the glass. It's a matter of survival. Better watch your back. Powder, arsenic, spoonful in your cocoa gonna make you sick. Strychnine, cyanide, keeps on getting harder, simply staying alive. You got the blue bottle blues. When you wake up in the night, don't make a big mistake, 'cause you could never make it right. When you reach out for the vial, feel the ridges in the glass. It's a matter of survival. Better watch your back. When it's time for you to go, like Juliet or Romeo, there is something you should know. There is no antidote. There is no antidote. Bootleg alcohol, toxic or intoxicating, who can tell? Almond, bitter taste, medicine, it leaves no trace. Morphine, rest your head. What was that precaution that the doctor said? Foul play, accident. Watch out for your loved ones and your careless self. You got the blue bottle blues. When you wake up in the night, don't make a big mistake, 'cause you could never make it right. When you reach out for the vial, feel the ridges in the glass. It's a matter of survival, baby, better watch your back. There is no antidote. 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 There is no antidote.
Watch out for that cocoa.
Oh, your blue bottle.
Leanne was pointing out that the ridges on the glass were so that you didn't grab it by mistake in the night.
Yeah, that's
know,
right.
so-
That's right.
Because you
Yeah.
wouldn't want to do that. That'd be bad.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't.
So now you know what I've been robbing you of for all these years, the full version of the song.
full version of the song. I didn't really realize that we hadn't actually played the whole thing before. That's amazing.
You can see also the way my editor brain works. As soon as like Brandy's like, "What about this song?" and I heard that crescendo into the chorus, I was like, "Oh yeah, we can hit that. we can work with that."
We're gonna do that. We're
Yeah.
gonna do that. Yeah, it is a really good song. All of their songs are pretty amazing. They play more than half of the music that we have typically. And then
Our
the
house
other
band.
people, yeah, around that. And then we have Cord Ravenswood, who'll be coming up pretty soon, I think. Not the next one, but soonish. And yeah, so we. Susan too. I just wanted to pop up because in the song they mention watch your own self as well. And I noticed Mindy popped up this question: how many would-be poisoners end up poisoning themselves by accident?
That's a good question.
That's a great question. I don't know statistically.
I don't know. And I don't know because they wouldn't test it on themselves, unless what she's talking about is they accidentally, drink the wrong drink. Yeah.
I'm sure it's possible. I'm sure it's happened. I will say more than poisoning themselves, I think the most heartbreaking poisoning stories are the accidents.
Mhm.
Those are the ones in my research came across that were the
I think, I don't know. I'm really clumsy. Like I could totally see myself being like, I'm going to poison this, and then like splashes in my eye and I'm like, oh no. Oh. Like, I feel like that would happen.
What about the people that train themselves to take poison?
Well, there's one person in your book
In
that
your
did
book,
that.
yeah.
He just
because
because
the Mithridates of Pontus. That's right. He was the poison king, and basically what he did was he was so afraid of being poisoned, because that's how I believe his father had been deposed before him, that he began this daily practice of ingesting small amounts of toxins, so he would build up an immunity over time. And then I think there was a time in battle where he was about to be captured and he wanted to end his life with poison and he couldn't because his immunity system had worked so well, and then he ended up having to ask his buddy to stab him.
Yeah, the irony. Yeah,
the irony. But yes, that still comes up a lot, is this idea of, can I outsmart this poison? Can I
I'm just thinking of iocane powder.
I'm thinking of The Princess Bride, of course.
Princess Bride, of course. Yeah, classic scene.
I think about it all the time.
I just want to say this to gentlemen: if you come a knocking and the lady doesn't want to answer the door unless you've got all your life savings sewn into your underpants, she's
Walk
the
away.
wrong lady for you.
Not the lady for you. Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
Bella Ganes. I think
Mhm.
about her all the time too. Yeah. Oh, and she's one of the ones that's just.
You think about her all the time. I'm sorry.
I think about her all the time. I don't know what other people
She
think
comes
about.
up on a regular basis,
She
I'm
does
so
after
excited
that.
you know Bella Ganes and want to talk about her. This is oh.
So we clearly we like these stories, we like these women, but you always have to give the caveat. You give the caveat in your book, don't do this. These aren't good things.
Right.
So do you think it's the it's the standing up to your bullies
That's a
aspect
good
of them that we like appreciate, and it's like, okay, we could dial that down like 10% from murder,
More
and
than
like
10.
that's where we want to be, standing up to our
Murder
bullies.
feels
Yeah.
further away from murder would be
Yeah.
good.
I think it's that, but I think it's also, come on, it's like the scam stories we have today of people come with your life savings and your underpants and you can come into my house. And you're like, we know what's going to happen. So you should know what's going to happen. So there's that aspect too
But
of
don't
it.
you
It's so
think, too,
outrageous. The ones that are so outrageous that are
Gotcha.
Complicated,
Yeah.
I
right?
mean, maybe it's just because we like botanicals. I mean, I like plants.
I think that's the
plants are
most
nice.
fascinating part for me is that we end up kind of liking them. We're
Yeah.
rooting for them, and then you remember what they're doing and how immoral and unethical it is. And I think that's the nuance of it, right? Like, do you like that they're standing up for themselves? Do you like that they're acts of defiance? Do you like that they're revenge fallacies where they get to like, take back the power? Do you just like a good dirty crime story and it has all of those attributes? I think there's
I
a
just enjoy thinking of women as being slightly dangerous, and that's probably me. I mean,
think women get a kick. I don't want to say get a kick out of that, but I think there's something empowering about women being a little dangerous, especially when historically they've been so disenfranchised.
exactly.
Yeah, and
Now,
I want
oh.
I want to get to Leanne's question, but to add to that, I noticed in your book and also in the Angel Makers, when there were two, I don't know where it was in yours, I can't remember, but they said, I'll say in the case of the Angel Makers, I was told in present day time by the people today were saying, well, it wasn't murder. They put the poison in and the guy chose to drink the coffee or the brandy or eat the soup. And that has include that in my book because it didn't naturally fit. But I saw it was in your story where they said, somebody said.
Yes, Baba, I might be saying her name wrong, Baba Anushka.
Okay. Yeah, they said, well, you know, he chose to drink it. Yeah.
Right.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know if that's fair. I think they were definitely tricked.
I still like it. I don't know. You know, it's like,
I think
I never. It was
intention to cause harm.
It was Yiga Murano. I never invited anybody to eat.
That's right. I didn't tell them to eat it. I brought them poison cake. It's not, but I didn't make them.
I mean, you know,
exactly.
If they had just been gluten-free, everything would have been perfectly fine. Back to Leanne's question. She said, "What's your ideal reader?" And I think the answer is like all of peculiar.
Yes.
Yeah, all of you. This is perfect. Yeah, like this is the right audience. This is people who would enjoy this kind of work.
But the last question here is actually for both of you. So I'm going to throw this up here, and then we'll see if you guys can. It says, do you have any rituals for pub day or any other pub day horror stories? And this is, I will admit, Leanne now knows a lot of authors, and we generally do. So curious.
Take that, Lisa. What is your What's your ritual?
This is my first book, so I don't have a whole sequence of rituals. I know, I did a little tee kind of click my head.
I did that too.
For me, this is like a live stream for me. So when it came out and I got it in my hot little hands, like I was really emotional. It was so much work. It was so much labor. Yeah. And then to have it turn out like exactly how it's so rare that something comes out, like you have a picture in your head. And I was just really lucky that the folks at the Chronicle Books, the publisher, like trusted me. I was like, I have a vision for the cover. They proposed something totally different. And I showed them what I wanted to do. And they were like, all right, lady, go for it. And it was just so.
I'm glad.
Thank you. And then the best part in the world is like seeing it, like seeing people post about it on Instagram and like the amazing like aesthetic portraits people take and people talking about the stories, like just being a part of this has been the thrill of my career for sure.
Yeah. And I think also that it came out, I'm going back to Baltimore where you live, and it couldn't be in a better place that you did this. It's Edgar Allan Poe, it's John Waters. I mean, it's
place.
I mean, it's the perfect place to create a poisoner's book like this. Kathleen Richardson, just a comment. The text is amazing. The art is amazing, but also the paper smells wonderful. What lovely.
I love that you're in there sniffing it. Someone loves books when they're in there sniffing them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a testament to the love of books.
I tell you what.
Well, Well, we're not done with questions yet. We've kind of reached that point in the show where it's time. Got 10 minutes left. It's time to quiz the author. So we were talking about this with Patty. I always love going back and looking at the quiz we did for our past authors. So for Patty, for her book, it was a quiz all about brandy, because brandy was a common way that they poisoned people in her book. I will say, Patty,
Not me
for
as a
your book-
person. It was alcohol.
Yeah.
Brandy, the liquor.
Yeah. I will say, for the Angel Makers, like I feel when I read other books and like as I started to read the League of Lady Poisoners, I was like, well, I hope the Angel Makers are in there. I hope they get a mention, because it's like once you're like on the show, you're like part of the family. So like, you know, so many characters, like we've been doing this for 6 seasons now. So many characters. I'm like, oh, I hope they get a mention. I'm like proud of them that they're like, they rank up there in the League of Lady Poisoners.
They
like
are.
they were
Well,
that.
she did her homework.
That's right.
She,
They're
Lisa
prominent
did her
members.
homework. Yeah,
Yeah.
they are.
All right. So yeah, there were a lot of things I was thinking about quizzing you on, like femme fatale characters or things like that. But I was like, okay, what's something that like I can actually like? I need some statistics. I need some numbers. I need some things I can actually quiz you on. So the most recent data I could find was from the year 2023, but we're going to quiz you about actual poisoning. Like someone called poison control is the name of our quiz. So
I'm not gonna know this.
but the peculiars are here to help. We're all going to learn something.
Okay.
That's what I decided from this quiz. Like we could all learn some information about current day poisoning. So according to the 2023 data from the National Capital Poison Center, or Poison Control, which age group do they get the most calls about? Is it A, infants and toddlers, 0 to 2 years, B, teenagers, 13 to 19 years, or seniors, 65 plus years?
Hmm.
They get the most calls about. And I will tell you, it is by a wide margin.
Oh,
Oh
a
my
wide
gosh,
margin.
really? So I was about to
Okay.
say, I could see all three of these
I know.
sort of categories.
Oh, wait, I take that back. I take that back. Not a wide margin. Yes, they're very close. Sorry.
Oh,
I lied.
You
Something
lied.
Something else was a wide
Hilarious.
margin. Never mind. Something else was a wide margin.
Okay,
Okay,
Sharon
something else.
Roney's suggesting it's A. Heidi's going with A.
Really?
Oh, no, it is. Yeah, it is a pretty wide margin. Yeah.
You're waffling on
I'm
us here,
all over
David.
the place. It's a
I
pretty
was
wide-
gonna say A or C, but I could see it going
Oh,
any.
Leanne says C, so we got a couple of votes for A's and C's.
Do I have to
All
pick
right.
one just for
Yeah,
the?
you're our final answer.
I'll say A because there were more peculiars
All right,
who
we're
said
going
A.
Oh, now there's another C.
Oh no!
She's going with A. The answer is yes, it is.
Oh, it
infants and
is.
toddlers.
Okay.
28%.
Picture. He's so
No.
grumpy.
As soon as I Googled image search infants and toddlers, that picture popped up. I was like, yep, that's the picture.
No one's
That's
got a
the
bone
one.
to pick.
That's the one. Teenagers were infants and toddlers were 28% of the calls they get. Teenagers were 9%. Seniors were 10%.
Okay, that is a pretty wide margin, actually.
It is a pretty wide
You
margin.
get nervous moms calling, I guess.
Exactly.
I'm sure.
Probably.
Exactly.
Probably.
And
We
kids put
called-
everything in their mouth.
My kids are 3, and then we have twin baby girls that are 1.5. And for my son, I can tell you, we called the 24-hour nurse line for Akron Children's like so many times at like midnight, 1 in the morning. Like like his fever's this high. What do we do? Those kind of calls. Everything works out okay.
Everything, hopefully.
According to 2023 data from Poison Control, for pediatric calls, what is the most common cause of poison? Is it
Most
A?
common cause.
Is it A, foreign bodies, toys, miscellaneous, B, analgesics, or C, cleaning substances, household substances?
I once heard a story of a woman who called poison control because their toddler ate an ant. And they were like, well, that's a problem, not a problem. So she goes, well, that's okay. I gave him ant killer. And they were like, okay, no, that's a
That's
problem.
a problem.
Oh, God.
Oh, what a backwards way of thinking that made it
Yeah.
so worse.
She
Well, a lot of
swallowed
people
the-
going with
She
C.
swallowed the
Saying
spider to
C.
get the fly. She
Fly.
swallowed the- Yeah. I don't
I
know why
was
she swallowed
thinking
the
C
fly.
because I'm picturing everyone puts their cleaning supplies under the sink, and that's where little
Oh.
hands can get to it.
Yeah,
So I think
everybody's
that's
guessing
gonna-
with that.
C's,
All
yeah.
right, I'm gonna go with the peculiars again.
This one I think was not as wide of a margin. The answer is yes, C, cleaning supplies, but I mean, look, it's a difference of 1% there. 8%
those
foreign
are all
bodies,
definitely-
9% analgesics, and 10% cleaning substances. All right.
Yeah, Tide Pods.
So, yeah.
I was thinking of the Tide Pods and those
And what-
teenagers.
And once you childproof your house, you forget, and you constantly, like for a year, you grab that cabinet and go, no, I need the magnet. No. All right, final question. According to 2023 data, 83% of poison exposures reported to U.S. poison centers were non-toxic, minimally toxic, or had at most a minor effect. That's the good news. What percentage, because your book is about death by poison, so I had to add this question in here. What percentage were deadly?
Deadly.
And I could have spread this out, but I wanted to make it believable, so I put all the numbers close together for you. A, is it 0.16% are deadly? B, 0.83%? Or C, does it just get over 1%? 1.27% are deadly calls.
Yeah, I was going to say, I expected it to be pretty rare. Murder by poison or death by poison is luckily a rare occurrence.
Sharon Roney says A. Leanne, for some reason, says S. And then says, oops, B.
Yeah.
I am not sure. I know that it would be a low number, but you picked all numbers that were low.
Exactly. I didn't want to make it too obvious. Yeah, I guess we'll say that when we heard it was infants was the most frequent calls, it's good to know that this number is so.
No, we're always
Yeah.
grateful that it's
Yeah.
not a common occurrence. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
thinking
we've got almost equal numbers of B's and A's.
I was thinking
Yeah.
between A and
one
B.
S.
One S.
All
One
right.
S.
Final answer.
I kind of want to vote for the S just for the whimsy of it. I think I'm going to go for B.
All
And I might be
right.
wrong.
All right.
I
Chris,
kind of
well,
tricked
a lot of
I
people
tricked
going
you.
for B.
I feel like that's an influence thing. I tricked you into the middle. It is A. It is
Oh, it is A,
0.16%.
okay.
I went for the middle ground.
Yeah.
Well, I love that it's so
two out
low.
of 3 ain't bad though.
2 out of 3, I'll take it.
Be
And I
so.
love that it's so low. That's great
Mhm.
news. It
That
means
is
that
great
we're keeping
news.
people safe most of the time.
So there we go. We all learned something, at least
Or at
based
least
on
we were.
2023 data.
Until we got rid of, various regulating bodies. So we'll see where we
Yeah.
go now.
We won't have data anymore.
We
Oh,
won't
no,
have
we
data
won't.
anymore. Ooh, Heidi was 3 for 3. Go Heidi.
All right, Heidi.
Woo,
Did
woo.
better than me.
that was so great. So you know what? We're getting close to being done here. Any last questions, Patty?
Oh, my last questions. I could go on and on and on. I want to ask you, well, one of my favorite sentences, I guess, or the start of a sentence. She was a young, pretty blonde con artist. Lovely writing, just lovely writing. Is there anything you wished I had asked or wished we had asked that we didn't ask?
Well, first let me just say thank you so much for inviting me. This was a blast. You asked such thoughtful questions. The Peculiars asked such fun, interesting, some questions I've never been asked before, and I've been doing this for a little while, which I love. I think the only thing is that I'll just say that I'm working on my next book right now.
Oh, yes.
So
What?
if you enjoyed
Okay.
the tone of this book, if you enjoyed the rich illustrative components, stay tuned for the next one.
Very
I won't
exciting.
say when I think it comes out yet because let's just wait till it's done. But
Yes, that's right.
we're
Well,
in the
you
process.
know,
Can you
I
give
will
us
say, letting me know as soon as possible is good. We're actually full for all of 2026
You guys book
now.
up back.
And I'll be announcing those books to the Peculiars pretty soon. It's a good list. It's a good list.
I love to hear it.
Yeah. I guess I would just say we do want to share the fact that you have your own shop and Patty also has her own website. And so before we leave and say goodbye, maybe you could both tell us where we can find more of your work.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, sure. I will say if you're interested in seeing more of my work, I use my last name online a lot, Perrin. So if you go to madebyperrin.com, that's my portfolio website. And I'm at Made by Perrin on social media, on Instagram. Instagram is probably the thing I use the most. And if you like looking at illustrations, that's where I post a lot of them. Oh, there's my website, live in real time. And yeah, I have an Etsy shop, and there's a link to the Etsy shop and the Instagram all from my website. So, and thank you for your interest and your enthusiasm. It means a lot.
And where can we find you, Patty?
You can find me. It's pattymccracken.com.
Patty with an I.
Patty with an I.
Patty with an
Yes.
I, McCracken.com. Maybe
So-
Davey can pull that one up too.
So yeah, I've got some backstories to the Angel Makers, stuff that I couldn't put in the book, or just sort of extra little things and facts I learned, or sort of the making of and that kind of stuff that's on the site. And I pretty regularly update it. Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Oh, there it is. There it
Was
is.
a
And we've got
business
them.
poison.
They're also both at the moment in the chat. You can copy and paste if you would like to do so. It's such good stuff, and there's so much wonderful. I'm a big fan of Poison. That doesn't sound
Big
right.
fan of Poison? Are you a big fan of Poison? Are you, Brandy?
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
you
Mark.
It's
Go,
good to
Mark.
know.
we actually I for one of the shows on Poison, maybe it was even Patty's, I can't remember, but we actually did the filming where I poisoned Mark in the background.
You did?
Yeah,
I
we
love
did.
that.
We did. We
I mean,
often do comedy.
Me and Mark kind of poisoned ourselves with hot sauce.
You
for a
did.
sketch,
That's
I
right,
mean,
they did.
we did take insanely hot wings.
They did
so.
a hot ones version, a peculiar
right.
hot
That
one.
counts. That counts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
there's Mark
somebody's
right
saying
there.
he didn't do
He's
enough.
still alive. He's
You
He's
didn't
still
do
with
it.
us.
He's-
This has been a wonderful night. We could probably go on and on, but we can't partly because Davey has 3 children, among other things. Leanne says hi, Mark. So we will let you go. I will ask both authors to hang on with us. So don't leave. You'll get to see everybody's thank yous, and I'll say some final words before we log off. But I just want to thank both of you for coming, for you for hosting. You did a marvelous job, Patty, for Davey for being here so that I don't look stupid as I'm trying to run the show by myself. To all of you peculiars who joined in, and to anyone who joins us at a place where, if you're weird, you're family.
You got the blue bottle blues when you wake up in